Okay, so get ready, because we're diving deep into something today that's like older than America itself,
Oh, wow.
but it's still around. Like, really shapes our lives
Hmm.
in ways we don't even realize.
Yeah.
It's maritime law.
Ah,
And no, I'm not talking about like pirates
sorry.
and ships.
Yeah.
This is like a whole system. It was all about, controlling trade routes
Right.
and commerce way back when.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, it's like woven itself into
It's everywhere.
everything.
It's like
Our legal system,
the
our
Matrix.
financial systems. It even affects things like
Right.
birth
Oh,
certificates
yeah.
and banking.
Really?
Crazy,
That's
right?
wild. Yeah, like how did these concepts that were designed for the open seas,
Yeah.
end up like seamlessly integrated into our modern system?
Yeah, it's like this hidden code
Yeah.
underneath everything.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this.
Okay.
Like, how did maritime law go from just governing the high seas
Mm.
to like influencing our everyday lives?
Well, it all started with
The British?
the British Empire, yeah. As their empire expanded across the oceans, they needed a system,
Of control.
yeah, to regulate trade and maintain control, and that's where maritime law comes in,
Oh,
or
sure.
admiralty law, as it's also known.
Right.
And it was all about, you know,
Keeping things running smoothly.
yeah, making sure the goods were flowing, the ships were moving, and of course,
British power.
maintaining British power, exactly.
Yeah, so that makes sense for the seas.
Uh-huh.
But how did this, like, seafaring law end up
On dry land.
on dry land?
That's a good question. It was a gradual process, kind of like a tide slowly rising.
Okay.
As global trade grew, these maritime law principles, they started influencing legal systems on land,
Makes sense.
especially anything related to commerce and finance.
Mm-hmm.
So what started as a way to govern ships and cargo,
Yeah. Yeah.
evolved into a system for managing contracts and payments.
Well,
Even the very concept of currency.
and speaking of currency,
Right.
you mentioned that even like everyday words
Oh, yeah.
have these maritime law roots.
It's fascinating.
This is where it gets like really interesting.
Absolutely. Like, take the term birth canal,
Okay.
directly relates to ships entering a harbor,
Ah.
which in maritime terms is called docking,
Okay.
and where a ship parks, so to speak, is called a berth.
Interesting.
So you can see how the language of the sea kind of bleeds into
Yes.
our understanding of birth certificates,
Totally.
which in a way, they kind of dock us into a legal system.
It's crazy how these connections like
Run so deep.
run so deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go deeper into currency.
Okay.
I mean, we use that word all the time
All the time, don't even think about it.
without a second thought.
So think back to like early trade routes.
Okay.
Rivers were like the highways of commerce,
Yeah.
and the flow of goods and money
Mm-hmm.
was concentrated along the riverbanks.
Right.
And that concept is mirrored in our modern banking system.
Whoa.
Banks act as those riverbanks,
Oh, wow.
directing the flow of currency.
That's a really,
A word that itself comes from the idea of something that flows or circulates.
yeah.
Just like goods and money along those ancient rivers.
That's like a really powerful image.
Yeah.
So it makes you realize how ingrained
Beautifully.
these maritime principles are
In our financial system.
in our financial system.
Yeah.
But what does this actually mean for us today?
Right?
Like, is it really affecting our individual freedom?
That's the crucial question.
Yeah.
Critics of this system argue that maritime laws focus on control and centralized power,
Okay.
which is kind of inherent in its origins, right?
Yeah.
Has carried over into our modern financial systems.
So they're saying, like, if banks are the riverbanks
Exactly.
controlling the flow of currency,
Yeah.
how much autonomy do individuals really have
Right. How much control do we really have over our own finances?
within that system? Yeah.
And this raises some concerns about financial sovereignty.
And, the potential for manipulation within a system, most people aren't even aware of.
Right, because if our financial systems are based on these historical principles of control,
Yeah.
who's really at the helm?
Good question.
It feels like we're all sailing on this ship governed by maritime law,
Right.
and we don't even know it.
We're just along for the ride.
Yeah, and that lack of transparency
Exactly.
and awareness.
It's a major point of contention.
Yeah,
Most people have no idea that these ancient concepts are influencing their lives,
especially when it comes to finance.
especially with their money, right? They might sign a contract or open a bank account without ever realizing the historical and conceptual framework underpinning those actions.
Okay, so knowing all of this,
Right.
How do we navigate these waters?
Yeah.
What can we actually do about it?
Well, I think awareness is the first step, and
That's
that's what we're doing right now.
right.
Understanding these connections
Yeah.
empowers you to see the systems around you.
With new eyes. With new eyes, yeah. From there, you can start to explore,
Alternatives.
yeah, alternative economic models.
Okay.
Ones that emphasize individual sovereignty and decentralized systems. Things like cryptocurrencies,
Uh-huh.
community-based finance.
Okay.
These are complex topics, of course,
Yeah.
but the key is to start asking questions.
So it's about taking the helm of our own financial ships.
Exactly.
Even within this larger system, that
Yeah.
might feel
Predetermined.
predetermined.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, the sea may be vast,
Okay.
but it's not unnavigable.
I like that.
You have the power to chart your own course.
Okay.
Start researching maritime law and its modern implications. Look into those alternative economic systems we mentioned.
Yeah.
The more you know,
Right.
the better equipped you are to navigate these complex waters.
I love that. And you know what it makes me think about?
What's that?
The future of maritime law itself.
Oh, interesting.
Like if it's evolved this much
Right.
over time, you know,
From trade routes to financial systems, yeah.
and from governing trade routes to potentially shaping our entire financial system,
Uh-huh.
what could its next evolution be?
That's the real question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as we become more aware of maritime law's influence,
Uh-huh.
we have the opportunity to participate in shaping its future.
Okay.
Whether it's advocating for greater transparency in financial systems,
Yeah.
exploring those alternative models we talked about,
Right.
or even just engaging in informed discussions like this one.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in navigating the uncharted waters ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.